What's up, everybody? Morning, Nick. Alex, good morning. Oh man, excuse me. All right, so just want to see if there's anything else that's framing up. Not really. Okay, let's go back up to EU. All right, GU's. Yeah, we still got a bit for GU, to be honest with you. Okay, so let's talk about what just happened with EU and all of that fun stuff. So, to give you a little bit of an idea of why I was just able to get into a short. Now, we've created this bullish sort of order flow in here. Yeah, so we're just gonna have to be a little bit more careful, just management and just understanding that there's obviously oodles of liquidity resting above these highs as orders sort of start collecting and collecting and collecting above the highs. But there was a good play to play into a decent reaction and be able to manage risk accordingly, take a half decent partial, all that kind of fun stuff. So I'm just going to break that down quickly. I'm not going to be taking any other trades today, unfortunately, just because I'm in something that's running, and quite frankly, I don't like donating. So if anybody sees something that they want to have a peek at, you can just hit it up in the chat and we can have a look together. But yeah, as it stands right now, I think the move, at least for me, is on EU to take these potential sells. Now, I'll talk again about management and all that kind of fun stuff in just a second. So the way that I sort of interpreted this was, moving all the way from left to right. And this is going to tie in with just like a recap as well. This area comes from a sweep. It's not like a crazy sweep, but it does pull liquidity and then immediately expands. Which is a really good sign for me to at least start considering looking at these areas as POIs or whatever it might be. Let's just bring that a little bit further. Okay, and I think we actually wick above this, if I'm not mistaken, depending on what feed you use, but it's not the end of the world. Why is that not working? It's weird. Why is that not working? So we'll get this reaction in here. Now let's go to 4-hour supply. Be a good case study to build around this one, of course, depending on how it sort of frames up in the next little bit. But yeah, so I saw this as, initial drive gets swept. I think this was off of news, which ends up wicking the top of this, which is like whatever. I mean, it is what it is. Not much you can do there. But the main components that kind of piece this trade together were, we got a high, we got a low, we high, we break that low. So let's just get our structure stuff. So this is all, excuse me. So this is sub, breakup sub. Okay, and then same thing, we're creating like, substructure is always creating that order flow, right? That's kind of how we see it. So substructure break, substructure break, everything's good in the market. The idea is that this does come from a take on liquidity. We do get a nice drive just above this region right here, which we end up inducing. So that's half decent play. So I'll just map all this shit too. Okay, so that's our sweep, or like the take on liquidity. 50 liquidity sweep, sorry. And sweep. Why is that like that? It's really weird.
So they changed it on TradingView. I saw mine was also like that.
Well, that's really weird. I don't like that at all.
Me neither. I sat for like half an hour trying to figure out what was going on, and then I just was like, no, they've changed it.
Yeah, and for some reason, my command key is not allowing me to lock in my grid. Really weird, buggy. They must have done an update or something. Okay, yeah. So sweep. Where was I here? So obviously your 15-minute swing is sitting right here. This is the highest before the lowest. That takes liquidity. Boom, pushes in. Could we break the high from here? Absolutely. I mean, we're not in the, depending on where you're measuring your leg from. I think we're just to say right before the actual premium, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so we haven't quite tapped it, but it's like, I mean, it's enough to get me interested in starting to look for sells potentially. So when I'm looking at this again, so I'm looking at a level to be induced. So would I have traded in here? Possibly. I don't think I took any trades on this yesterday. I was kind of waiting to see how these things sort of align. We need liquidity to go after as well. So we've got equals down here. Now, if this low fails to produce a new high and order flow realigns, typically the way that I view this, especially in a bearish market, this is usually that first kind of, you know, confluence to be able to say, okay, like ultimately we're trying to shift, we're trying to move back in the direction of the overall trend, which is obviously bearish. So yeah, you make some assumptions and essentially get yourself in a position to potentially capitalize on these positions. So the way that, again, I sort of viewed this was that once we kind of took this high, like we came into more of like this sweep region. If you look across, we just to say tapped into this high right here, which is yeah, kind of where we're sitting. And then I viewed this as, let me just kind of bring this down here, but I viewed this right here as sort of like my order flow, like the first step in order flow realigning, right? I mean, obviously, you know, bearish order flow would ideally, you know, come in, push, and then we can start to establish what that next move is. Now, be mindful that, you know, the overall order flow right now within our sort of swing structure range on the 15 is like we're in bullish order flow, right? But because this had realigned, because of the specifics of where we're sort of tapping into, we've induced everything. I see this as a really, really high potential area for a really strong reaction that could at least be managed, depending on, of course, how we sort of play it. So I actually viewed this as and this might be controversial, but I use this as a pro order flow move based on the order flow realignment and where it sort of happens. So as this realigns, we come back up and now we're starting to react into you know, these levels up here. So very, very simple. I mean, where's liquidity stacked in the market? I mean, there's tons of levels for inducement. So I wasn't even interested until all of this was taken, right? So obviously premium and discount plays into this. This comes from an area that does take liquidity. You know, there's confluences stacking around this. And again, I didn't necessarily just take a singular 1 minute candle here. I just looked at the overall range, that last push that pushes through, and then just snap that across. So it may hold, it may not hold. Time's going to tell shortly. But the way that I sort of viewed this is, like I said, once that liquidity sort of got grabbed, I can get on this pretty aggressively, because ultimately, in order for us to be able to come back up and fuel these highs and go after these guys, we're going to need to take liquidity from somewhere as well on the opposing side, which would more than likely be below some lows down here. Could possibly be higher, or sorry, lower, or up in these regions right here. But the bottom line is I had a very good feeling that this would produce a half decent reaction, just off of the fact that we've taken so much of the orders resting in these areas, right? So that's kind of like my 2 cents on all of this. And then again, just getting into sort of like this refined POI that does tick a lot of the boxes, does break structure, all these different things. What I'm looking at here is on a 5 second, I'll just show you exactly where my entry was, but yeah, I just essentially saw this initial tap, right? The initial tap gets swept, right? As this gets swept, well, guess what? Like, as soon as, if we break through here, we're probably going to start making our way down, just given the fact that we have taken so much liquidity to the left-hand side, all of these different inducement levels. So we're going to get more than likely a very, very strong reaction to the level. And I just played into that. So yeah, drop a 1 if you understand why I was able to, and if you have a question, of course, drop a 2. But yeah, it was a pretty simple move in terms of just how I built up my narrative. Go ahead, Nick.
On the 1 minute mitigations, how do you know? Because obviously, looking at that list that you gave us, how do you know when you're waiting for the sweep and when you're not waiting for the sweep?
Well, we've already, so for this specifically, like the way that I'm seeing this is that we've swept into that refined POI that's unmitigated, right? We've taken, like, all of this right here was swept, right? This is all taken to then expand. So if we didn't have, like, let's say we didn't have a bunch of inducement right below the POI, maybe it was sitting down somewhere, and we got that initial tap and then did something like this, the delivery away, and then swept, then I would be more inclined to kind of look at a sweep, right? But because we had inducement right before, how many people are trading here, how many people trading here, trading here, trading here. So this entire move to me is more of the sweep than anything else.
Okay, so you actually, instead of saying looking for a 1 minute sweep, you could actually say we're just looking for inducement.
Yeah, the new trade plan that's out on Sunday is going to have a little bit better wording with it. But yeah, it's essentially we're looking for something to be induced, and whether or not that's the initial tap to get induced or something that's to the left hand side, right? It's case by case specific, and it's very, very difficult to like encapsulate every aspect of that.
That's the only bit I was, especially with the 1 minute, with what you did give us. That's the only bit I was a little bit confused about, but that makes sense. Perfect sense. Thanks.
You're welcome, Nick. I was watching and waiting, but decided to wait for a 1 minute order flow realignment. And there she goes. Yeah, I mean, man, and here's the thing is, like, it's being conservative with entries. Don't beat yourself up for any of that stuff. And I'm not just saying that, to make anybody feel better either. Like, if you're looking for something specific and it doesn't line up and you force a trade and you take a loss on that trade, you'll have violated your plan, right? So I was okay with doing this just with, again, how other confluences sort of stacked up in here with the inducement levels. Like, this could have mitigated a lot deeper. And again, on the 5 second, what I would have done is, well, not what I've done, what I had was basically my order sitting just below here, and then I click and snap, click and snap, click and snap, click and snap, and wait for these levels. So as soon as we started mitigating this level, I'm assuming that we're going to get a strong reaction based on the fact that it's the most liquid region, right? And once we tap through that and we collect all those orders, where's liquidity sitting? Well, it's going to be sitting underneath these lows. It's going to want to go after more orders down to the downside. So yeah, this could have kept going up like this, up like this, up like this, and I would have kept chasing and just placing my sell stop and dragging my sell stop into place until it crashed through, right? Because the idea is that this should give us a very strong reaction in this region based on the fact that it's just taken so much of that liquidity to the left-hand side. What are your thoughts on placing stop loss when you're snapping it? Do you ever think, okay, this move doesn't seem worth it? I always question where to place. So I always just, like, basically what I've been doing lately is I'm allowing for like a 4 pip stop. And yeah, 4, 3.5. It depends on how it's looking, of course. And all I'm going to do is just kind of adjust this as that's, yeah, essentially getting snapped into place.
Can I ask a question on the whole thing? Can you zoom in on your 5 second here?
Yeah.
So I was watching this. I was debating the sell stop, but for me, it would have been here. And I was like, it's going to be a massive stop. It would have been like 6 or 7 pips to properly cover the high.
Yep.
So
Yep.
like,
So
if
what-
you were in that situation, would you still cover the high, or you would just pick another?
Oh yeah, no, I'm still
whatever,
covering the
whatever.
high for sure, for sure. I mean, like, you know, so some people really like to kind of get into the nitty gritty, and as soon as like they're just leaving like a 2 pip, but like you're not covering anything, right? That's you have to be able to cover something that's like pulled liquidity and then expanded away from. And where does that happen from? Well, that's right here, right? So if you're not covering a structural high, to me, it's like a waste, right? Because ultimately you could get wicked out, and then what? And then it comes up to this high, and then all of a sudden you're too scared to pull trigger because you should have just kept it covering the high in the first place, and then it ends up just dumping on you. So for me, like again, like the way that I would trade this is even if you would have put it here, I still would have covered this high, and like a 6 pip stop. Like let's get away from the idea of like the 1, 2, 3 pip stop loss. We're trading trade ideas based off of
Stuff
what's
needs
available,
to be
right?
what it needs to be.
Yeah, exactly. So I got a little bit more aggressive just again, and like it's because I had stacked all these confluences over to the left with like, okay, if we break through all these liquid regions, like, I mean, what's left in the market, right? Like what's left? It's going to want to go seek out orders down here, right?
Yeah.
So is it a little bit dicey? I mean, it could be depending on how you sort of view things, but I was okay with this, right? Because ultimately, if this breaks through, like look at mitigation process, right? If it doesn't, if it's going to break through here, it's going to come down to here, right? And if it breaks through here, it's going to come down to here, and if it breaks through here, it's going to come down to here, right? So all of these confluences stacking with the idea that we've just taken all of those induced levels out, I'm able to be a little bit more aggressive with my 5 second sell stop.
Cool.
What are your thoughts on play? Okay, we just do you care more about being in the trade rather than? Yeah, things have shifted a little bit since probably the last time you were here, Hugo. I'm definitely more interested in trade ideas as a whole, as opposed to, you know, having this egotistical like we need a 2 pip stop or whatever it might be. And a lot of times, like I said, that what I was noticing, at least in my trading, is that like if I like just for example would have put a sell stop something like this on this, and I just would have kept like a 1.5. It's like it doesn't really justify anything. Like this could easily come and fill imbalance and then push down. So I like the idea of covering something that's taken something to the left hand side, which would obviously be your structural level, right? So I would much rather validate a trade idea than marry the idea of my ego being right and being able to have this tighter stop loss and it run, you know, 100R. I'd much rather just be involved in a trade that correlates with my rules and just kind of follow suit that way. Okay, so that's you find the 5 second chalk or for realignment, it doesn't often come back to the flip and just dies. So it depends. And this is where like, yeah, you have to play into these liquidity concepts and stuff too, is like, you got to understand that if we're taking like the more liquidity that gets taken on a sweep or on a push through, the less likely it's going to be that this is going to come up to here until we break this low, right? So oftentimes we won't come up to that flip zone or whatever it might be because there's been such a huge draw on liquidity across a bunch of levels to sort of induce. So in that case, this is more of like a last point of supply is kind of how I'm seeing this. This is sort of your sweep. Yeah, I don't know if I'm explaining that properly, but anytime there's like a bigger draw on liquidity, typically you're not going to see it come back up into those regions up until we've broken some sort of a structural low to then be able to realign order flow and then start taking those. Where am I targeting? So I'm going to be careful because I think there's some news coming out Whoops. Forex factory. So we got CPI 8:30. Yeah, 8:30 my time. I am probably just before news going to take a half decent partial, but what I'm going to do here is just go to 3.5, 3.5. So overall target, let's go to the 10. Let me ask you this, Nick, where would you put your target? Like for me personally, if this is bullish order flow, right? Bullish order flow, where am I going to see a reaction from? Really, the first reaction is probably going to, yeah, it's going to be somewhere in here, right? So I'll probably, my first partial will come off at this liquidity point right here, because if this low comes into here, fails to take out high, order flow realigns, we've just purged liquidity here. First take profits underneath the weak lows. That's it. And then from there, then it's about management, right? Do I look for a hedge? Do I look for how sort of this realigns? And if we do get a 15-minute chalk, I just take it off at the demand level and don't really care how much further it goes, right? So yeah, that's like my more aggressive management style. The other way would be to, again, look for hedging a position in here. Yeah, that's pretty well it. Liquidity is resting below these lows right now, at least the way that I'm sort of interpreting this. So I'll just kind of watch and see how all of this sort of frames up in the next 40 minutes and kind of make a decision based off of that. But really, like, I mean, we could potentially even be taking this into these weak lows down here, which would be a banger of a trade, you know, 1 to 40 coming down into the original, you know, order flow shift down here and taking out this liquid region. So yeah, I'm going to be managing according to how things sort of play out. I'll be watching this probably throughout the day today just to, yeah, make sure that I'm on top of how I'm going to manage this position. That makes sense. If it takes enough liquidity, it doesn't need to come back, more or less. Yeah, exactly. And like it will come back, but it'll only come back on the break, right? Like if once we break substructure and we continue, like that's when you'll get the drawback, right? So, which is not a bad move because now we'll be in a pro order flow state, right? Trading alongside higher time frame narrative. So yeah, if you miss this one, this is kind of like your first entry, right? Your confirmation entry. It's not a risk entry. And now we can start to look for order flow to realign. I mean, it doesn't help you rate this second. But yeah, don't feel like you've missed out. I mean, this is the start of a potential really, really big move to continue down to the downside. So yeah, just be mindful of all that. Yeah, I'll probably take this into, yeah, it's hard to say. Hard to say. I'm a chicken, to be honest with you. I've taken a lot of like really big RR full volume trades and I lose sleep. I honestly lose sleep. I feel sick to my stomach watching it climb and climb and climb. And yeah, I want to get paid. That's really what it boils down to. I like getting paid. I don't like fucking around watching it draw back. Like right now, liquidity is literally resting underneath these lows. Like I will probably take most of my profit off then. I personally don't like trailing stops. I'm a very liquidity heavy liquidity profile trader. So if I know that there's something resting below these lows and I know that there's going to be a pullback, it's like I don't want to hold this all the way into drawdown up here. What I'll do is take all of this profit and then rescale here. Not a huge fan of trailing stops. Like I said, I like getting paid, man. That's like number one for me. I don't like screwing around with potentially not getting paid. And like trailing stop, oftentimes if you trail, like where would you trail right now, right? Like would you trail here? Or yeah, potentially get swept out and then it moves. Like I would rather see this first area get taken or tapped into, and then I can start to consider what my next potential move in the market would be. You get paid, you get to finance your next move, right? And like, I don't know if that's like a good way to look at it. It's just how I sort of look at it. I go like, if I close this position right now with $12,500, I can take quite a few trades to get back into this. If I wanted to just cut it here and then essentially wait till this breaks the low, come back into a pro order flow state, and then start taking this into, you know what I mean? So it just depends. Yeah, it's management is so personal, man. It's such a weird thing. Can I ask about the daily look ahead? Sure.
Hey, can you go to the 4 hour here? I just wanted to ask you because a couple questions, because I don't know if it's just intuitive to you, but I think, I don't know when it was, but price was like right here when you were making one of the forecasts, and I'll try to kind of redraw what you had. But you sort of like drew something where price kind of came like that, and then like that, and then like that. You know what I mean? So sometimes you'll have this, and then other times, I think like yesterday, you had more of like on EJ or one of them, you kind of had just like one line coming up like that, and then looking for price to continue. So I guess, how do you kind of know what you're looking for? or if that's just what you want to happen in a way. Yeah. So like, I think for EJ, you just had it kind of coming up here and then like dropping off.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Okay. So this
and
is
then my other question too with that is like, when you're doing the forecast, is that what you want to see the 4 hour do, or like the 15-minute do?
Well, I usually just stay on the I usually just stay on the 4 hour for the forecast. I usually don't do like a multi time frame because I'm looking at like overall, just like, yeah, overall price composition, right? Like, I mean, ultimately we break this low, we know that the next move is more than likely pullback, right? So we're looking to wait for pullback to come into something up in here. We'll select some valid POIs, areas that we would be interested in trading. And then once we get up to here, then it's like, okay, well, now we're going to be looking for realignments. So I'll just make mention that, like, because I don't want to give a specific, it's not that I don't want to give a specific POI. It's that, you know what, oftentimes a POI gets tapped into, and the way it gets tapped into is super ugly. There's nothing really happening here. You know what I mean? So I like to just give an overall bias of what's happening in the market, as opposed to very, very detailed specifics on like, okay, make sure that you're looking for a 15-minute chalk here. No, it's like, here's the overall composition of the market. Here's what we're looking for. Like, we've just broken the low, right? So if we had a forecast for tomorrow, it would be really simple. I'd be waiting to come back into here, right? Like, we're like, this is where we're looking to trade from, right? And then just continue going that way. So it's meant to be a little bit looser, and the reason why is because it's to kind of show you that, you know what, it's going to take some time. We're not trying to pull this counter trend, right? Like, we're not trying to play this as a counter trend move. We're going to stay alongside with what is happening on that higher time frame and be able to deliver like some. Yeah, I mean, I just draw. You know what I mean, Hugo? Like, don't take it too
too literal. Like,
yeah, too literal. Like, that's the word. It's more or less like. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying. I guess because I don't know, like, when I kind of see that, it's like, oh wow, like, you know, we're gonna need price to drag out a lot here, or it might just come up and come down. But you don't really know. You're not. I shouldn't take it too literal.
And like, I don't want it to be this literal forecast, right? Where people are looking at every single, like, dude. I mean, I'm just squiggling a line. I mean, essentially, but the overall idea, and maybe it's a good point, because if you, maybe I'll just keep it a little bit simpler. But ultimately, what is the next move? The next move is to here, right? What's the next move from there? Well, we're going to look for something that like fits our criteria, whatever it might be, like this. But the bottom line is once we get into these regions, this is where things start to get interesting, because we're going to be able to start watching where liquidity builds, where it gets swept, where order flow realigns, and then where we can start capitalizing on the market, right?
Okay, so, cool. Yeah.
Hopefully that.
I wasn't sure, like. Yeah, it does. It does. Because I wasn't sure, like, when you draw it more dragged out, that means like you actually aren't looking for a trade anytime soon. You like expect it to drag out there and 4 hour realign and okay. All right.
Exactly. So, and like, you know,
Fantastic.
like these POIs gain relevance based off of how they're delivered into and away from, right? It's not like if I put this
Yeah.
sitting like this, right, and you know, somebody in the community has only been trading for, let's say, 2 months, and I say like we're going to trade this POI right here, we're going to just look for a 15-minute chalk. You know how controversial that can become, right? Like if we don't get liquidity before it and sweep in, then like this doesn't have any relevance, right?
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
I see what you're
take note of
saying,
it.
and I'll work on that too. I'm going to create an SOP for how I deliver these daily oh my god, overviews or whatever you want to call them, look aheads, so that they're a little bit more consistent. And yeah, I'll hopefully have that done for this week coming up, so that we're just a little bit more consistent with the approach. So my bad if that gets confusing, but yeah, overall we're just for what that next move is. Like there could be all kinds of distribution up here, but the bottom line is we're looking for a point up in this region, right?
Cool. That clears it up. Thank you.
People take blindly, you'll get blamed. No, that's it, right? And that's where things get like, it's just, it gets sticky. It gets really sticky, unfortunately. And it's, I just, there's a very fine line to walk, and it's not because you don't want to provide more and more value. It's that you're only as good as your worst trade idea. And you know what, man, I've been known to be on the wrong side of the market. And like what happens is when you get into like nitty gritty POIs and stuff like that, and me just posting up all these different things, what ends up happening is people take it very, very literally, and they get very upset when it doesn't work out. Because somebody who has a $5,000 account and they go full margin because Tyson said the POI is going to work, I've paid him to do, like, it's just one of these things, right? You have to be very careful. So I think it's a lot more beneficial to just keep in check what the overall market sentiment is. Are we in bearish order flow in the higher time frame? Are we in bullish order flow in the higher time frame? Where could the pivot potentially get punched in? To me, yes, it's a little bit more broad spectrum, but it's a lot safer to just understand the dynamic in the market so that you can start to make decisions based off of the trade plan that we provide, and furthermore be able to get involved with a lot higher probability trades that are alongside with what's already happening in the higher time frame of the market. So just my 2 cents. Seeing the EJ charts hurts my soul. Yeah, she dumped on you, eh, Maddie? They're just squiggles, but they're squiggles with intention. Yeah, that's right. That's right. It takes balls to forecast the 4 hour anyways, because if you do forecast a POI, it took forever to get to, and it's just a personal blows up and people take it personal. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, ultimately, we're here to teach a method, right? We're not here to teach like a very, very specific, you know, like this is the POI that's going to work. Like, no, that's not the case. And like, honestly, like even if we have a POI, something like this, right? Let's say there's a 4 hour POI resting right here. You know, we could easily do something like this, sweep into this, right? And then wick the high and then break down. And then now people are looking for longs in here when that's not the case, right? So this is the POI that becomes relevant now, right? So as things sort of progress, like it's like you have to be able to, my famous last words, read between the lines of what price is telling you, because the market doesn't operate in black and white. It doesn't really care about a supply zone or a demand zone. I mean, typically it's something to give respect to, but they don't always hold that way. And again, that's why I always kind of mention that, like, you know, these POIs gain relevance based off of how they are delivered into and away from, right? So, and yeah, anyways, I'm just kind of beating a dead horse at this point, but you guys get the idea. Man, this trade is flying. 20 G's in profit, baby. Let's go. Now you can be conservative, like with something like this, you could just target where the next, like if you think that there might be an order flow shift that has happened across this, you know, starting to take partials here at 12R, whatever it might be, like there's no shame in doing any of that. It's not a big deal. You don't need to hit a home run. It's all about what can you extract from the market every time a trade ideal presents itself, right? And a lot of people just fail to realize how powerful it is to just take profits. So with my personal account, Hugo, I risk 1%. Anytime if I'm using a funded, which is not very often, but if and when I do, it's never over 0.5%. Typically, I'm just risking like yeah, 0.5%, sometimes even 1/4%, depending on what the account standing is. So hopped in on the pullback, just took some partials at 9R. Awesome. Yeah, no, I got nothing to hide when it comes to what I risk on a personal or funded. So funded has always been never more than 0.5%. And then yeah, that's gives you about 20 trades, right? You got to fuck up 20 times in a row to blow the account. Like it's pretty tough to do, to be honest with you. As long as you're following a strict rule set and being patient, and letting your setups kind of develop, right? You gotta be, yeah, not to discredit any, like I mean people blow accounts, man. This is trading, man. It's not for the lighthearted, to be honest with you. But no, it's just one of those things. I mean, like with a personal account, I'm totally okay with risking 1%, and I'll stack orders too. I don't really fucking care. I've got a higher leverage account as well with Blueberry, and yeah, it's not an issue. But I assume the risk, right? And I know what the risk is to get involved, so. See what's going on. Slower time frame. Yeah. Everybody going long on the flip. Nothing to go after up top though. We just took it all. Oh yeah, we're gonna need some liquidity to feel the move. Let them fucking do it. Let them dance. Oh man, I would hate to be the guy looking at longs right here, personally. Even if it works out, it's technically a weak level. It's not taking anything out, right? So strong. Be my guest, Eric. I'm good, man. In the discount of the discount. I'm asking if that's how you entered. Oh, up top here? Yeah, sell stop. A sell stop. My bad. Sorry, dude. I thought you were making a joke about putting a sell stop here. Yeah, no, there was a sell stop entry right here on the 5-second. It's pretty aggressive, to be honest. But again, with the overall narrative, like the trade idea, like yeah, I had no issues doing it with the amount of inducement we had, and liquidity to take, and then liquidity to essentially target in relation to EOF. Oh, excuse me. Can we take a look at a loss I took on GJ? Okay, let's have a peek. You can queue up if you want, Johnny. Wednesday. Okay, so Wednesday, that would have
There we
been
go.
the 27th.
I couldn't figure out how to unmute my mic because my chat was covering up the button.
Oh, Gucci. Okay, somewhere in here. What did you do? You took a sell?
Let's see. Yes, in there. There's. Let's see. Are you on? I'm on the 1 minute at 9:05. Wait, that'd be 10:05.
My
New
time.
York time.
Okay.
10. Yeah, 10:04. Well, no, somewhere in there. Anyway, right before that 1 minute spike that took me out.
Okay.
The actual entry was 10:03, somewhere in there.
So let's have a quick peek. 10:03, somewhere in here. Right? Look about right.
On, let me just double check. Wednesday, yeah, 27th July, 10:03 is where I have my vertical line there. Yeah.
Yeah, so you came into this region right here and basically probably pulled trigger on a sell stop or something.
Somewhere closer in, like just a little bit before that, like in here, kind of somewhere in there.
Okay. So what was your supply zone that you were after?
So I saw this, that break,
Mm-hmm.
and let's see, on the, I gotta switch back to trading view here on 15.
15?
Yeah, because I saw a 15-minute realignment there,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, this whole thing there. So it's
Yep.
based off of this whole thing here,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Looking in the wick kind of deal.
yeah,
Okay. I
I
mean,
believe that's what it was.
what are we reacting to the left here? Yeah, reacting to something in here, I guess, your supply. Okay. Yeah,
I
like
think it may have been. Yeah,
I'm just looking at like the delivery on, and like, I mean, it's tough to say because I didn't take the trade, and I mean, I don't want to sound like the guy, well, I wouldn't have taken that because I didn't fucking take it, but I'm just trying to understand.
yeah,
Yeah,
I was looking at that.
Yeah, you got equals that got taken. That's good. You kind of break into here, and then order flow realigned, like you said, but order flow was kind of bullish on the lower time frame, right? Like we're getting all of these. Yeah, we haven't broken anything like substantial in here, right? So if this would have taken out like this down here, this would have been something to probably use as inducement for this, right?
Hmm.
So it's a tricky one, John. I don't know. Do you want to explain to me like just the process, and maybe we can talk about it a little bit? I'm just trying to understand like what you like. The only area that I would have been able to trade maybe would have been up in here, right? Like this unmitigated zone above all the liquidity, right? With the right confirmations, of course, but
Mhm.
there's like, to me, there's not a whole lot in here. Like, I mean, we have nothing to really take into this, right? So this becomes liquidity for potentially this that swept, right?
Yes. So
Is
let me
that
see. Yeah, I'm gonna maybe I'll just post a case study and
tag me up?
get the feedback in there. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
tag me
'Cause,
up,
yeah,
and I'm happy to go through it.
cool. Thanks.
Okay, buddy. But there's a 1 minute chalk. Why isn't it holding? It's from a flip zone. Why won't it hold? Man crush. Paul's the man. Paul's the man. Hey, does anybody want, I asked this a while back, but I'm gonna get a bunch made. Anybody want some Fractal Market crew necks or hoodies? Drop a one if that might be something that interests you. Just like a little logo on the left-hand side of the breast. If anybody's interested. Anyways, I'll hold a poll anyways in the Discord, but yeah, I'm probably gonna get a few of them made and some high quality cotton of some sort. Oh yeah, excuse me. Some comfy t-shirts. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna get some made for me anyways, so I'll let you guys know when they're ready. I mean, there's no real rush to do it, but why didn't the chalk hold? Jesus. Hey, how many people right here? Just getting smoked. Flips are supposed to work. Why isn't it working? Because you're trading from a weak level. So we're just laying out chirps here. Laying it out. Anyways, so we've gone through trade recap. There has been no trades taken. We went through the GU one that I'd taken last couple days ago. It was right before FOMC. That's why I was a little bit more aggressive with my management, just targeting the next liquid region and demand reaction zone. And obviously that just fucking took off. So yeah, anywho, that's that. That is that. Anybody got some good plans for the weekend? Anything fun going on? I see something about the UCAD from about a week ago while we wait. Sure. Let's have a peek. Oh, the one that was deeper in the leg? UCAD.
Yeah, just wanted to see if you'd ever look at price this way, but it was July 21st on the 15-minute.
Right here, July 21st. Where?
July 21st.
Yeah. 23rd or 1st?
21st.
Okay. So right in.
Yeah, you got on.
Somewhere in here?
Let me see here. Okay, so like right here.
Okay.
So when price was once if we expected to take kind of these lows out
Yep.
and react from like this supply,
Okay.
can you zoom in a little bit?
Yeah. Just into this zone. Give me 2 seconds, Hugo.
Yeah, just to where I had circled. Would you kind of ever think like, okay, so once price is coming back up to the supply zone, we're waiting for maybe the 15 minutes to realign, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you ever say once price chalks, it's like, okay, it's realigned, but there's no liquidity to take. So we technically have realigned, so I'm okay like selling from above that since there's no liquidity for it. Would you ever look at price like that or not?
Well, so this is
realigned?
where the POI selection would sort of come in, right? So like knowing that there's nothing to take into here, and obviously this would become inducement for a deeper mitigation. I would be looking over to the left to kind of justify my position a little bit more, and then look for that lower time frame confirmation, right?
So would you say it did realign even though there was no liquidity for it?
Yeah, so order flow realigning like that is usually like the first step. But yeah, I would say that order flow is starting to realign that way, right? Obviously, like, without using liquidity concepts at all, order flow is realigning at this level, right? Once we break through. But again, then it's like, okay, well, if we've taken out the lows, what's now weak? And obviously, if there's no inducement available to sort of take, it's going to be from the high, right? But yes, order flow, like, I mean, to answer plainly, like, yes, this is an order flow shift is, or probably because technically order flow has shifted against here. Now we're looking for it to realign.
Yeah.
And yeah, looking to obviously trade it here, but ultimately, yeah, we just need to be careful about like, yeah, the liquidity concepts component, right? Which is obviously if there's nothing to take from here, this will likely get ran. And then actually the better trade idea probably would have been something in here to take that down, right? Waiting for, because ideally we want liquidity to stack so that people are trading on the wrong side of the market, right? That's the whole idea. And we want to induce the people who get in just a little bit prematurely. So when you start to see that, and you see that like we have an unmitigated wicks, obviously in hindsight, we can see this very clearly, but the idea is that like when we see a sweep, we get an order flow realignment, such as this one right here, boom, come back up into this level right here. This is a lot better because this comes from a really decent sweep with a very, very steep recovery. We have a level to induce in here. You know what I mean?
Yep. Okay, interesting.
Cool.
That's it.
Awesome. Okay, what's going on? Sorry, I got to come back to this trade and have a peek, guys. I am probably going to take, I'll probably take profits just underneath these lows, to be honest with you. I don't want to get caught, you know? I know it's probably going to run, but let's get paid on a Friday. I want to put this at TP, maybe somewhere in here. Yeah. News in 11 minutes as well, so. Nice trade, though. Nice trade. Yeah, I'm going to take pretty well. Probably take all my volume off just underneath the lows. EJ seems good. I don't know. Does it? Let's see. Maybe. I don't necessarily like that much, but let's have a quick peek at. Oh yeah, you're in the buy to sell. Okay. I mean, it could be okay. I don't think it's like the worst trade idea in the world, that's for sure. Let's have a look at. We haven't had a realignment and we've wicked the low. Okay, let's have a quick peek here. Yeah, your entry would have been probably just above inducement here, would have been like the only spot, but I don't think that's going to hold. Personally, would be a little reluctant to be involved with that, I think. We haven't broken, yeah, demand pushing, yeah, yeah, up in here, this would have been an okay trade, I think. Above a level to sort of induce, but yeah, that's probably all I would have been able to take out of this. Sorry, I got to go back to Euro US dollar, guys, and have a peek at what's going on. Oh, goodness. Should I just take a profit? Oh, excuse me. So I'm going to be changing up the passwords for everything probably today, just FYI. So if you have them saved or anything, just make sure that when you re-log in for this week, starting on Sunday, just remember the passwords will be switched up. So no point in saving passwords because they get changed every week. You can do it if you like, but it's going to be a waste of your time and you're going to be fighting to get into a meeting that you won't be able to get into. So just make sure that you're using the most up-to-date passwords that are given in the oh, you haven't needed a password. Oh, okay, I'll have to fix that up. Weird. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to fix that up. My bad. My bad. No, excuse me. Oh man. Freaking exhausted. Yeah, I'll have to look into that and get it more protected. No, I didn't register anything actually. I'm not sure why it's not protecting it. That's kind of weird. Okay. Well, like I said, guys, there's like I take one trade idea per day. I don't bounce around between all these different things. I find what's setting up the best. And for me, EU was the best setup for today. And I'm done for the day, guys. That's it. That's all. We've recapped this trade. We've also done the GJ trade. So that we're not going to have like a recap this afternoon. I think I'm just going to group these in together moving forward so that we can kind of kill everything off at once and start moving that way. You don't have to see me twice in a single day. But yeah, I'm going to cut this off if that's cool with you guys. Any questions to kind of end off the week or anything like that? How do you guys find the new schedule, not meeting every single day? I find, like, personally, I like, obviously it's nice to have a little bit of time to take better quality trades for me, but I think it's been a little bit better just having less time together, believe it or not, and just having a lot better trade ideas to sort of talk about over the course of a couple days. Yeah, well, you're gonna get some homework. We're I know, Nick, you're after me, man. I'll tell you what, Nick, how about you design a curriculum for me? Nothing has shown up in your daily markups channel. It's gonna start this week, man. The site has taken a major priority, unfortunately, and yeah, we're trying to get this thing dialed in for you guys for Sunday so that we can start getting people over, give you guys the core concepts of the foundation series. Just, man, there's just been a lot of moving parts. I don't want to keep saying it and, making excuses. It's just there's a lot going on and there's only me and Dave that are working on it. So it's been an uphill battle. There's been a lot of late nights kind of getting stuff prepped, and we're working on it. We're working on it. He was in 5. Be careful what you ask for. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Well, homework, I mean, there's a great case study to be built here with EU, at least in my opinion. So if that's something that interests you, yeah, I would definitely take a peek at this trade. Yeah, it's been an experience. IT stuff always takes longer than, yeah, well, and again, like, none of us really have background. We have somebody helping us on the back end build things out as well, but it's just, yeah, I mean, it's a brand new thing, right? Like, I've never done it personally, so it's been a little bit of a daunting task, and just getting basically acquainted with a brand new system, right? So anyways, I don't need to make excuses here. It's just, that's the way it is. Lots of writing, lots of videos to make, keeping up with Instagram, a lot of moving parts that I'm not used to. So anyways, that's it, guys. I'm gonna dip. Hopefully you guys have a good weekend. Yeah, enjoy yourselves. Take some time off tomorrow. Don't forget, it's the biggest thing. One of the most important things for me, at least in my week, is making sure that Saturdays are no chart, no Instagram, no fuck all. Just, yeah, chill out, relax, enjoy the easier things in life. And yeah, we'll catch you guys on Sunday for the forecasting video. Anything that's missed, and yeah, have a good week. Have a good weekend. We'll see you guys on Sunday. Bye now.